All right, folks, welcome to another President Trump live stream. This time he is in Maine, and he's going to be doing a roundtable with fishermen, with commercial fishermen from the area, talking about the economy, talking about jobs, and everything else that has to do with that. So please share the live stream on social media, and don't forget to click the thumbs up button. It helps us out immensely. Thank you so much, folks. Once again, this is a roundtable with fishermen, commercial fishermen in Maine. If you share the live stream on Twitter, we'll give you guys a quick shout out as a thank you for your support. Also, don't forget to click the thumbs up button. We're sending out notifications right now through social media. So if you guys see our post on Facebook or Twitter or Gab, repost it, retweet it. It'll help us out a lot. Thank you so much, folks. For this event, there's no hot mic because they're blasting copyrighted music. They're blasting stuff like Michael Jackson and AC/DC and a bunch of others. So we cannot play that kind of stuff on this channel because of copyright issues with YouTube. So we're going to be playing our own music until President Trump comes out. Once again, There is no hot mic for this event because they are playing copyrighted music in the background. So we can't do that. All right, folks, we would like to give a big thank you to everyone that is sharing the live stream on social media. So this is live stream 2 of 3 today. President Trump earlier today had a press conference on the economy. He talked about jobs, he talked about the economy, trade, and everything else like that. If you missed it, it's uploaded to the channel. Make sure you go and check it out. Now, this is the second live stream of the day. President Trump is having a roundtable with commercial fishermen in Maine. So he's in Bangor, Maine. Right now, he's going to be doing a roundtable with commercial fishermen. And then later on today, President Trump is going to be delivering a speech at a company that makes medical equipment. So President Trump is in Maine today, and he is going to be delivering a speech later on today again, but this time is going to be at a medical equipment plant. Right now, he is going to be delivering a roundtable speech at a commercial fisherman event. We want to give a big thank you to everyone that is sharing the live stream on social media, and we're going to be starting off with DCDocumentReports.com. Thank you so much for your help and your support. Also, Donald Trump winning big league and Brandon DeLeon. Thank you so much for your support sharing the stream. Let's see here, and give me 1 second. Let me refresh one more time and see if anyone is sharing the stream on social media. That's all we ask for, folks. If you can please share the stream on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Reddit, whatever social media you have, if you can share it on there. But if you share it on Twitter, we'll give you a shout out as a thank you for your support. We're gonna be starting off with Simple Life Prepper. Thank you so much, Simple Life Prepper, for sharing the stream. Stan Up to Graph, thank you so much for sharing the stream. We also like to give a big thank you here to, give me 1 second, Freedom Warrior 91 for sharing the stream. Thank you so much to the English Poet. Thank you so much, the English Patriot Poet. Thank you so much for sharing the stream. We also like to give a big thank you to Catherine Denise Judson for your continued support. We also want to give a big thank you to Laura Thunman and Chris McFan. Thank you so much for sharing the stream. We also want to give a big thank you to ABTL4L. Edward Carpenter, thank you so much for sharing the stream on social media. We also want to give a big thank you to Bob Ruzhewitz for sharing the stream. Let me know in the chat, folks, did you guys get notified for this live stream? Let me know in the chat. Thank you so much to QLisa77. Consecrate Russia, thank you so much for sharing the stream. Linda, thank you so much, Linda, for sharing the stream on social media. And we also want to give a big thank you here to, I think I saw, here we go, Jane Doe. Thanks so much, Jane, for sharing the stream. We also want to give a big thank you to Seamus for sharing the stream on social media. And we also want to give a big thank you to Gloria. Thank you so much, Gloria, for sharing the stream. We also want to give a big thank you to Adorable Deplorable. Thank you so much, Adorable Deplorable, for sharing the stream. BTS Awesome Forever, thank you so much for sharing the stream. And I think that's it for now. All right, folks, so if you share the live stream on Twitter, we'll give you a shout out as a thank you for your support. But also share it on Facebook and Gab and Reddit and Parler and all of those social media sites. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Gold State Times. And make sure you click that subscribe button and that notification bell here on YouTube on this live stream. Click the subscribe button, click the notification bell if you are new to the channel. We cover the president fairly and completely 24/7, 365. And we're getting ready for President Trump. So make sure you click the thumbs up button. All right, folks, so we'd like to give more shout outs here to everyone that's sharing the live stream on social media. If you would like to help out Golden State Times, the best way to do it is by sharing the stream. So thank you so much to Deplorable Trump Lover for sharing the stream. We also want to give a big thank you to Mar87 and also to Virginia Llewell. Thank you so much for your support sharing the stream. We'd also like to welcome some new followers here on Twitter. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Gold State Times. And we have Light Bright. Thank you so much for following us on Twitter. Also Neo and Adrienne Kelly. Thank you so much for following us on Twitter at Gold State Times. Catherine Schwab. Thank you so much for following us on Twitter. Also Tiffany45 and Jal Thorpe. Thank you so much for following us on Twitter at Gold State Times. Triggerman and Nerd Talk, thank you so much for following us on Twitter. World's Meanest, thank you so much for following us on Twitter. Alright folks, so we will also like to give a big thank you to Marv Bush, Free Collins 50, and Douglas. Thank you so much, Douglas, for following us on Twitter. Also Koi, Sheer Green USCG, Deplorable Amy Rose, and George Griffith. Thank you so much for following us on Twitter. Robert Gambino, Nelson Piera, and Chris Madsen. Thank you so much for following us on Twitter at Gold State Times. Selma Atkinson, Stargazer, Firewolf786YT, and Lynn Delaney. Thank you so much for following us on Twitter. Also, Michelle. Thank you so much, Michelle, for following us on Twitter. We want to give a big thank you to Daily Cosmic News for sharing the live stream on Twitter. Also, Michelle Battistone, thank you so much for your support sharing the stream. And Idaho Garden Girl, thank you so much for your support sharing the stream. All right, folks, we'd like to give a big thank you to Tink Thinks. Thank you so much for sharing the live stream on Twitter. Also, Polly, thank you so much, Polly, for sharing the live stream on Twitter. Let's see, and we also have here Christy Warshaw. Thank you so much for sharing the live stream on Twitter. And also Rexer P. Thanks so much, Rexer P, for sharing the stream. Pirate GFX, thank you so much for sharing the stream. Judy Olson, thank you so much for sharing the stream. And we also have Sergio sharing the stream. Thank you so much, Sergio. We also have here, let's see, Idaho Garden Girl, thank you so much for sharing the stream on social media. We also want to give a big thank you to Juan Silva for sharing the stream, and to Daniel Patrick Hall for sharing the stream. And we also like to welcome some new followers on Twitter. We have Susie Q Plus. Thank you so much for following us on Twitter. We also have Anonymous. Thanks so much, Anonymous, for for following us on Twitter. And we have Brianna Springs. Thanks so much for following us on Twitter. And Light Bright, thanks so much for following us on Twitter. We want to give a big thank you to Audrey. Thanks so much, Audrey, for sharing the stream. And we're going to check once again to see if anybody else is sharing the stream. So let's refresh here. We want to give a big thank you to Stands with Beer. Stands with a Beer, thank you so much for sharing the stream. And we also have, I think that's it. Thank you so much for sharing the live stream, folks. Alright folks, once again, we don't have a hot mic for this event because they are blasting copyrighted music in the background. A lot of the same music that they use for Trump rallies, to be honest with you. And I know that the mainstream media always gets triggered whenever President Trump uses his rally music, the music that you hear at Trump rallies, at these events. They get so triggered, especially, you know, Jim Acosta and also, what is that other guy's name from Voice of America? Steve Herman and others. They get triggered like crazy when President Trump plays something as simple as music that he also plays at Trump rallies. It's funny. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to click that subscribe button and that notification bell right below the video if you are new to the channel. We thank you so much for choosing Golden State Times as your stream of choice, and we hope that you join us and you join the family by clicking that subscribe button and also that notification bell. For today's future live stream, President Trump is delivering a speech in Maine at a medical supply company, a company that makes medical supplies later on today, as he is in Maine. So if you want to get notified for that live stream, all you have to do is send us a text message with the word Trump Live to the number 555-888. If you've signed up to that number before, you don't have to do it again. You are already part of the notification list. But if you are new or you haven't signed up to our text message notification list, in order to sign up, all you have to do is send the word Trump Live to the number 555-888. It's 100% free from our end. It's 100% free, and we do it because YouTube does not send notifications for live streams all the time. They cannot be trusted, so that is the reason why we have that feature where you can get notified directly to your text messages with the link of the live stream. Just click on it and it'll take you directly to where it's going to happen. We would like to give a big thank you to Gemini17 for sharing the live stream on social media. Also, we'd like to give shout outs to new followers on Twitter. We are starting off with Laura Thunman. Thank you so much for following us on Twitter. Also, Chelsea Springs. Welcome to the family. Thank you so much for following us on Twitter. Chris McFan, thank you so much for following us on Twitter at Gold State Times. If you haven't yet, follow us on Twitter at Gold State Times. We'll keep you up to date on everything that is going on in politics. We'll also give you updates when we have future live streams, President Trump's speeches. Whenever we publish the president's schedule, the daily schedule, we do it every single day. We publish the following day's schedule for President Trump. And it comes packed with videos and live stream links and stuff like that. So stay tuned. Make sure you check out our website, goldenstatetimes.com, and you bookmark it. Bookmark our website, goldenstatetimes.com. We also want to give a big thank you to Older Hippie Chick. Thank you so much for sharing the live stream on social media. We will also like to give a big thank you to Odette from the Netherlands. Odette says, watching from the Netherlands. That's awesome. Patriots watch from all over the world, folks. You'll be surprised. People, patriots are watching from all over the place. All over South America, all over Asia, Europe, Africa. We have patriots watching from New Zealand, from Australia, from all over the place. So welcome here at Golden State Times. We want to keep you guys informed on what's going on here in the United States. If you're in the US, let us know in the chat, where are you tuning in from? What state or what city? Give a shout out to your city or to your state or to both in the chat. Also, if you're international, if you're watching us from any part of the world, let us know, what country are you tuning in from in the chat. We would like to give a big thank you to Sherry. Thanks so much, Sherry, for following us on Twitter at Gold State Times. All right, folks, so this is very interesting. Let me turn off the music for this one, because this is extremely interesting. All right, so President Trump, if you guys, just a little refresher of what's been going on, especially in Washington, D.C. So the mayor of Washington, D.C. has said that she is going to kick out the National Guard and not allow it to stay in hotels around the D.C. area. So that is what the mayor of Washington, D.C., Mayor Bowser, so that's what the mayor said. Now, President Trump, right now, 2 minutes ago, put up a tweet that says, the incompetent mayor of Washington, D.C., Mayor Bowser, whose budget is totally out of control and is consistently coming back to us for handouts, is now fighting with the National Guard, who saved her from a great embarrassment. So, and that's very true. The National Guard saved that Democrat from a huge embarrassment. President Trump says, over the last number of nights, if she doesn't treat these men and women well, then we will bring in a different group of men and women. A different group of men and women. So he's talking about the U.S. military. Now, very interesting. A lot of people do not know how much power the President Trump has over the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps, folks. Look into it. Very interesting stuff. What power does the President Trump have over the Marine Corps that is different from having power or having the ability to maneuver other branches of the military like the Navy and the Army and others? So what extra thing was thrown in there? What extra thing was added when it comes to President Trump or the president and the Marines? If you guys know, let me know in the chat. It's very interesting stuff if you look into it. I encourage anybody, if they have a little bit of time, look into that. Look into that. It's very interesting stuff. All right, folks. So I'm going to be posting something on my Twitter at Gold State Times. It's a PDF that is titled Presidential Prerogative under the Constitution to deploy U.S. military forces in low-intensity conflict. Just to give you guys a little bit of a blurb of what this PDF is all about. It says, as applied to the United States, small wars are operations undertaken under the executive authority within military forces, meaning the United States Marine Corps, is combined with diplomatic pressures in the internal or external affairs of any other state whose government is unstable, inadequate, or unsatisfactory for the preservation of life and such interest as is determined by a foreign policy of our nation. So I'm going to be putting it up on my Twitter so you guys can go and check it out. But yeah, it's like I said before, it's very interesting stuff of what type of powers the President Trump has when it comes to the U.S. military and most specifically the United States Marine Corps. All right, folks, just a quick update regarding what I was talking about the Marines. Now, a lot of people are going to make the counter that the War Powers Act of 1973 changed the whole fact that President Trump can not use the United States military however he wants, or that the Marines have no special powers, or President Trump or the president has no special abilities regarding the Marines. But I would suggest them look into every single executive order the President Trump has signed over the last 3 years. They might get a little surprise in between here and there. So, interesting stuff.
Best, actually. Either run again or come into the administration.
Will do.
Okay, you got two choices. Okay, and I heard there was some controversy with respect to the current governor. She never asked me a question.
Yeah, I know.
By the way, you have everything right on tape. She assured I came here because when she said I shouldn't come, I said, now I know I'm coming.
You should see the
I'm
crowd
like Paul.
outside. The crowd that's gathered outside because you're coming. It's unbelievable.
I hear there's a big crowd out there, huh? That's great. That's great.
You're here. In fact, it's one with
And
a
you
big
folks
sign.
are going to tell me about the EU, okay, with respect to their tariffs, because they like tariffing things. So you're going to tell me about that, okay? With regard to lobster.
I would like to say one thing to start off, if you'd like.
You'll speak, yeah. Do you want to speak in front of the press?
Yeah. A lot of the Maine companies, lobster companies, have been forced to open up companies in Canada to send their lobster to the Far East and to Europe because we don't have an agreement with the EU. And of course, China levied a 40% tax on Maine lobster, U.S. lobster. So what they're...
So easy to handle.
Yeah.
All you have to do is put a tariff on them and you'll have it done in about 2 minutes, right? And we'll talk about that.
Yep.
So the EU, in other words, charges a tariff,
Yes.
and therefore the Maine lobster people
Have to pay 20%.
Have to pay 20%, is it, or
Right.
40%?
Yes, it's 20%.
So they have a tariff, so it no longer makes it
And
competitive.
if it comes from Canada, Canada has an agreement with the EU and there's no tariffs. And in addition to that, the Canadian dollar is 30% weaker than the American dollar, and therefore they're making a killing.
I got it. That's an easy one to handle. That's like easy.
Good.
Hi, everybody. We'll talk about that, okay? So I want to thank you all very much. We just had a big press conference at the White House. You probably saw in the Rose Garden, the beautiful Rose Garden. There was about 100 degrees. It's okay. And the U.S. economy added 2.5 million jobs. It was supposed to lose 9 million. They were slightly off. So instead of losing 9 million, in fact, when they read it, they thought there was a typo. When the numbers came out this morning at 8:30, they read it, they thought there was a typo. Probably the greatest month we've ever had. I guess if you look at the charts, we gave the charts to the fake news media. They have them, and probably the greatest month we ever had in terms of that. And we haven't even started yet because New York is closed, which is starting to open, and California is essentially closed but starting to open. So this is the largest monthly jobs increase in American history, and that's more than double the previous record, which was a long time ago. Economists forecast that the unemployment rate would rise to over 19%. Instead, it fell to 13%.
That's correct.
Slight difference, right, Paul? Former governor of this great state. Paul LePage, and a friend of mine for a long time. We added 1.2 million leisure and hospitality jobs, 464,000 construction jobs, 424,000 education and health service jobs, 368,000 retail jobs, and 225,000 manufacturing jobs. You remember, Paul, under the previous administration, they said there'd be no manufacturing.
Yeah, we lost.
And they didn't call that one too well, either did they? They didn't call too many things too well. The report showed that nearly 80% of the unemployed workers were in a temporary layoff. That's a great thing. That means they all expect to go back to work, indicating that they could quickly return. 73% of small businesses are now open. How about that? Up from 52% last month. And the S&P 500 just had the best 50 days in the history of the stock market. Pretty amazing. And we've just started. We're going to have the greatest year. Next year will be the greatest year, I think, economically speaking, in history for our country. Only one thing can stop it. Somebody like Sleepy Joe Biden. Once they raise taxes, open borders, they want to open the borders. Can you imagine opening borders right now? Tijuana is the most heavily infected place anywhere in the world as far as the plague is concerned. You know, the plague came in from China, unfortunately. Most heavily infected, or one of the most heavily infected, right along the border. But we built a wall. We have up to 200 miles now, more than 200 miles of wall. By the end of the year, we'll have 400 plus. And we'll have it finished very shortly, fully financed, everything done, despite we were totally opposed by the other party, as you know. But they want open borders. That would be bad, but they want to raise taxes, and that would be a disaster. So I think we're going to have a great victory, and we're going to take care of law enforcement, because law enforcement, they're saying defund the police, defund. Think of that. When I saw it, I said, what are you talking about? We don't want to have any police, they say. You don't want police. First, they didn't want ICE. They do want sanctuary cities, which are a disaster. But they say they're going to defund the police. In other words, they're not going to pay police. They don't want to have any police, the real ones. And Biden is bought into it, but he doesn't know what's going on. So, you know, he just doesn't know. But the people around him know what's going on. And they want to defund the police. They don't want to have police. So I want to thank you very much for being here. I'm thrilled to be with my friends from the great state of Maine, with leaders from the fishing, crabbing, and lobster industries, very important industries, and you never have been treated properly, or at least for the last long period of time. We're also joined by Secretary of the Interior David Bernhardt and a very good friend of mine, former Governor Paul LePage. Paul, thank you very much for being here. You did a great job running this state, I can tell you that. As we work to fully reopen and revitalize our nation's economy, I'm doing everything in my power to support American workers, including those in Maine's amazing seafood industry. It's a big industry, but a lot of people have not been taking care of this industry. We have, and that's why we're here. We're going to take care of it even better starting today. We were all very excited to see the blockbuster 2.5 million jobs added last month, far exceeding any expectations. Not even the wildest expectations thought it was supposed to be down 9 million, and it was up 2.5 million. I would say their estimators didn't do too good a job. Under the last administration, commercial fishermen and Maine lobstermen were suddenly informed that nearly 5,000 square miles of ocean off the coast of New England would be closed to commercial fishing without justification. Is that right? 500? No, you got to be kidding. Is that right?
That's correct, sir.
So they just closed it. They said you can't fish. But let me guess, other countries do, right?
No, exactly.
It's inside
They
the
do.
200 miles.
This action was deeply unfair to Maine lobstermen, threatened to cripple family businesses and cost America's fishermen millions of dollars. So they closed 5,000 square miles of ocean off your coast, right? That's amazing, Paul. How did they let that happen?
Obama just used
That was
pen.
President Obama. Thank you very
President
much. With a
Obama.
pen. Was that done in the form of an executive?
In the very last few days of his
That's
administration.
it?
You're going to fix
We're
that.
opening it, right?
You're fixing it.
So we're opening it today. We're undoing his executive order. Why would that be? It's ridiculous. What reason did he have for closing 5,000 miles? That's a lot of 5,000 square miles is a lot.
Yeah.
He didn't have a reason, in my opinion. All right, so we're opening it up. Today I'm signing a proclamation to reverse that injustice, to reverse that order from the previous administration, and we are reopening the Northeast Canyons and the Seamounts Marine region to commercial fishing. Is that okay? Is that what you want? Yeah? That's an easy one. For me, I can't even believe they can do a thing like that. That's a terrible thing. That's a terrible thing. So America's blessed with some of the richest ocean resources anywhere in the world, except when they close it up. And yet we have a $16.6 billion seafood trade deficit and import over 85% of the fish we consume. No wonder you have 5,000 miles that's closed up. Who would think that we import 85% of the fish from other countries that are your competitors. And we have the best fishing areas in the world, I would think, right? Is that among the best fishing areas anywhere in the world? How does it compare to other locations in the world?
Georges Bank is a very rich fishing area in the world.
And for lobster, the best, right?
Yeah.
The best in the Gulf of
For
Maine.
lobster.
And Atlantic scallops.
And scallops. I like scallops. Good. We'll have plenty of scallops to eat. This is why I've taken decisive action. And we're going to send our fishermen out there. You're going to go fishing in that area now that you haven't seen for a long time. Lobstermen and seafood producers, I want to just congratulate you. Last month, I signed an executive order to begin an accelerated review and reduction of all unnecessary regulations on the seafood industry. So who's doing that, David? Who's working?
The Department of Commerce.
Okay? You'll make sure that gets done quickly.
Absolutely.
Okay? This guy, when I give him something, it gets done. Between him and Peter, we have the right people. So Peter, you'll make sure that you and David.
This is a great thing for the state of Maine. These two executive orders together is going to bring back commercial fishing in a big way. Sir, that is some of the most fertile fishing grounds in the entire world that's been shut off.
And we've gone through all of the machinations, all of the work, so we can sign this now. It takes a while to get it done, but we're getting it done. Not easy, because they did it in such a way that it's not easy. I ordered the formation of a trade task force that will identify opportunities to open foreign markets to our seafood exports. We're going to talk about the European Union, who constantly take advantage of us on trade. Nobody knows that. And I'm further cracking down on illegal harvested and imported seafood. That's a big deal too, right? What does that mean, illegally harvested? Who wants to answer that question? Go ahead.
Fish, they call it EI fish, illegally harvested fish that some countries don't enforce fisheries conservation rules. In our country, we do. So if a country is off their coast and they don't have to
So they don't have
rules,
the thing, so they have
don't have any rules, they can catch fish.
So our conservation rules, are they overly tough or are they ridiculous? Because other countries don't have any conservation rules, right? Most other countries.
We have
Are rules fair and good, or are they not?
We have a lot of rules in place that are preventing us from harvesting sustainably some of the resources out here. The fact that I'm in the groundfish industry, the resources off New England are at a record high.
You got to talk into
The resources off New England are at record levels. Never been recorded in history that they're so high, but we're underfishing.
Because you're underfishing.
We're underfishing
Is that
them
because of regulations?
because of antiquated regulations that you can never get rid of something that's in place.
So are we then looking at those regulations, Peter, or not?
sir.
Because let's do it.
That's
I mean,
what
we
you've
came
asked
up here for a different reason, but
Yeah.
let's look at those.
One
So
of the
in other words, you have more product than we've ever had before because you're not allowed to use it. You're not allowed to fish, basically.
You're not allowed to fish, and some of the problem, and when I was governor, I encountered it. If you go to Commerce, and Commerce sends you to NOAA, and there's a lot of bureaucrats in NOAA that really put on some hurtful penalties and regulations on the fishermen.
So they were so burdensome that you can't fish.
Correct.
So now what's happening is being
Or you
taken
can't
over.
afford to fish.
You can't what?
They're so burdensome that you can't afford to fish. They make it so that if you
Probably both. You can't fish and you can't afford to
and
fish.
you can't afford to fish.
So let's open it up, Paul.
Yep.
Nobody better than Paul LePage to get this going, in my opinion. So can I ask you to work on with
Absolutely.
My two great guys,
I
Peter
would,
and
I would
David?
be more than happy.
And let's open it up, okay? And we want conservation. I'm a believer in conservation, but they've gone crazy. And then other countries, they don't have the same, so you have a much more expensive product. You have a better product, but you're not allowed to even get it in many cases, right?
That's correct.
It's amazing. So I ordered the formation of a task force, and today I did something else. I put Paul LePage in charge of trying to figure that one out, which you already have figured out, I suspect. You've been living with that a long time. And you've been unable to get previous administrations to do anything about this.
That is
right?
correct. And it was particularly bad under the Obama administration. I spent
Well,
6 years.
they kept piling it on.
They just kept piling it on and delay.
And why did they do that? Just because they thought environmentally or something? Right? Not really. Politically, they did.
It was a little bit of a political stunt because unlike yourself and I, we're friends. Obama and I were not friends. And
Maybe
it was
he
very
also
difficult to
nice
get
other
to
countries.
talk to him.
He might have also been nice to other countries, right? Like Canada, right? He might have been nice to other countries, like Canada.
Yes, he was.
So I ordered the formation of a task force, thank you, Paul, that will identify opportunities to open foreign markets to our seafood experts. I'm further cracking down on illegal harvested and imported seafood. That's what your problem was, right? So we're cracking down on it. I recently signed into law $300 million to help our nation's fisheries. Maine will receive $20 million, and you're going to get more than that now as we start breaking this crazy thing up. You know, I always think of this as a great fishing state, but you're so restricted, it really stops you from being a great fishing state. I'm going to ask David Bernhardt, though, and Peter Navarro to really get involved and get this done quick. This is ridiculous, okay? Can I do that? So I want every American who works out of the ocean and works in the ocean and fishes for all of the different things and the treasures to let you know that we're behind you 100%. You do an incredible job. And we want conservation, we want good environmental practices, very important. But we also want something that's fair to you. They've taken your livings away. I've been hearing about this for a long time in Maine and other places up here. I'd let it extend to other places that are also affected. Canada's given a tremendous advantage over the United States because of the practices of the previous administration and probably others. So we're not going to let that happen. As an example, I heard that Canada doesn't have to pay a tariff going into Europe.
That's correct.
But you do.
And we do.
Okay. So
And then
if that goes on, then we're going to do something that's going to make that look like small time.
And last year we were sending, or 2 years ago, we were sending a lot of product to China, and then China put a tariff on us for 40% because of some of the trade issues between our two countries.
And what happened to the tariff? Is it on now?
Oh, it's not gone down. I haven't checked lately, but you're still paying the tariffs, right? The lobster's still going to Canada, and from Canada they go over free, but it's just an added expense to the Maine lobsterman, who also has a 30% disadvantage.
So you're saying China charges a 40% tariff? And how big is the tariff that the European Union charges?
20, is it 20 or 22?
Okay. And this country, because of stupidity for years, hasn't charged them
And the
anything.
funniest part of this whole issue is the Canadian lobster we're talking of and the Maine lobster come out of the same water.
Are they the same lobster, would you say, basically?
Yes.
Would you say they're equivalent as lobster?
They're equivalent. They're
Is
from
there a
they're
difference
the
in
Gulf of
size
Maine.
or type? Any difference?
They're coming out of the
It's
Gulf of
same
Maine.
lobster. So you're set up with a 20% tax that they don't have, so they have a very good thing. And that's European Union, right?
Yep.
The European Union has ripped this country off so much, it's unbelievable.
And I'll
And
tell
it's
you,
so
that-
easy to solve. I'm going to call them, David, you're going to come in, write a letter, and if they don't change, we're going to put a tariff on their cars until they change, and they'll change right away, okay? It's unbelievable how badly, people hear about the European Union, sounds nice. They've been almost as bad over the years as China in terms of trade, but nobody talks about it. There's a perfect case, Maine lobster. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
We're going to charge an equivalent plus tariff to them if they don't drop their tariff on your lobster and seafood, okay? And we can do that. Peter, do you agree with that? Do you like it?
We need to
Let me
strike
put
back.
you in charge of that
We
one.
need to
That's
strike
a natural
back.
for you. Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
That's a natural for you. European Union charges us a tariff. They don't charge Canada a tariff. This is for the press. So Canada doesn't pay a tariff for the same exact lobster in the same waters, but we pay a tariff. If European Union doesn't drop that tariff immediately, we're going to put a tariff on their cars, which will be equivalent, come in for nothing, which is ridiculous. Okay? Do you understand? It's going to be the equivalent plus.
Yes, sir.
It's going to be the equivalent plus. Watch how fast that tariff comes off. All right? Watch how fast. It should be plus, plus, plus. Okay? I'm going to put Peter Navarro in charge of it. That's perfect for him. I'll take that one off your plate, okay? All right, Peter Navarro, you're in charge of it.
Okay.
Yeah? Thank you. This country has been treated so badly on trade for so many years. We have such bad agreements. We're breaking so many of them up. It's been treated so badly, it's hard to believe.
You know, Canada, in some respects, Canada has been our worst enemy in the produce industry. We cannot send.
Canada's
meat
been very tough. Canada charged in Wisconsin, before I got up and changed it, 287% tariffs on dairy products.
Yeah.
So think of it. And they kept it at 287. They didn't want to make it 300 because they thought somebody might find out. And until I became president, nobody knew. I ended it. But they were charging Wisconsin and our farmers 287% tariffs to send dairy products to Canada. So therefore you didn't send. You couldn't compete.
You couldn't compete.
And our people didn't charge them anything.
That's correct.
Canada's been very tough. Very tough. You know why? Because they got away with it, that's all. Because people sitting here didn't know what the hell they were doing. Okay. But the deal has worked out. You know, the new deal is a good deal. It's got rid of all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't talk about lobster. But Peter Navarro's going to be the lobster king now, okay? All right, Peter?
Yes,
Now,
sir.
look,
We'll
you
get
can do
after
it.
it.
Let's see what you can do.
Dear to my heart.
Let's see what you can do.
This state right here, Maine, is dear to my heart. I spent a lot
There's
of time
another
here over the
vegetable
years.
that most people don't speak of, and can't bring to Canada. And we're one of them. We have a company in Maine that is one of the major growers of broccoli in the country.
Broccoli. And
In the summer, they're in Maine. In the winter, they're in Florida. But what has happened in the last few years is the Canadians bring their broccoli into market. They have a 30% advantage on the exchange rate, and so we can't sell our broccoli, and we can't send it to Canada.
that's our big thing
That's
with
the
the dollar.
overvalued
That's
dollar.
what you and I talk about.
Yeah.
Right? The dollar that
We'll
everybody
have to
says
do that
doesn't
one
matter.
too, sir. I mean, make me the
Want
dollar
to handle
king
broccoli in
too.
the same way?
What's that?
Is it broccoli primarily that and the lobster, seafood, etc.?
There are a couple others. There's broccoli, blueberries. Blueberries, Maine used to grow 90% of the wild blueberries in the world.
So where is it done now?
Canada, New Brunswick, and Quebec have got 300,000 acres on, and so now Maine's blueberries are selling below growing cost.
And when you talked about the Obama administration about this, they did nothing.
They did nothing. I spent a lot of time in commerce.
Let's get on this.
The three things plus the seafood. This man he's a believer. He knows exactly what to do. I don't have to tell him a thing. And you guys will work on the other stuff together, okay? Any questions, by the way? Questions? Shouldn't be any questions after that. You got more than you would have ever thought.
I will just make one more comment.
Amazing.
I will make one more comment, and we need your help on. As the country is reopening, of course, right now Maine is still tied up pretty tight because we have a governor that's not reopening very fast. But as
Why
we
isn't
reopen,
your governor opening up your state?
I don't know. We don't know.
All these states are being opened. They're making a lot of money. That's why we had the good numbers today. You have a governor that doesn't know what she's doing, and she's like a dictator.
Yes,
you
she
know?
is.
Why isn't she opening up your state?
Well, one thing that she's doing is the $600 a week that the people on unemployment are
Right.
getting. She is allowing them to continue to collect when they're called back to work, and so people aren't coming back to work. And everybody in this room will, knows of people.
So she's taking advantage of the system.
Yes.
But she's not letting them come back anyway because you're shut down.
That's right, but the few that would, I know of 3 cases last week, by an employer told me that these 3 people were called back. I reported them that I have work for them, but they're still getting the $600.
What would you say about that, Peter?
Look, this whole problem in the bill where we're paying people to stay home.
Yeah.
It's
You know, it works
doing
in some
tremendous
states.
damage.
Yeah.
Doing tremendous damage to our economy because it's keeping people home, and the
The
longer people
Democrats
stay
wanted
home,
this. Feather bedding, okay? But the Democrats wanted it. We said it wouldn't work, and we were right.
And it works.
But honestly,
it works in Republican states.
It does work in Republican states. But the Democrats wanted it, and we negotiated, but it's unnecessary.
Correct.
And it makes it overly complex. But a place like this, we're straightening it out. Any further legislation, we're straightening it out. And we just did PPP today, so.
The legislation is fine if everybody follows the rules.
Yeah.
But if a governor
You
decides
see,
to,
she's not supposed to be doing that.
that's correct.
So when she doesn't do that, it's fine.
That is
But the
correct.
governor is playing cute.
If you call someone to work, and they refuse to go to work, you tell the state, and the state will take your unemployment
Right,
away.
exactly. So she's not supposed to be doing that.
That's correct.
Let's call her on that, please.
yeah,
Call her
it's
legally.
tremendous.
Not
People
allowed
of
to.
Maine want to work.
Yes,
they do not
they
want
do.
a handout. They
When
want to
is
work.
she opening the state, if ever?
I think there's another move in July. There's going to be another move in July. She started opening up some of the restaurants that you can have, 6
Very
social
small.
distancing and 50%.
And you don't have a big problem up here. So why is she doing this?
Well, what she's afraid of, or what she's claiming, is that in the summer, Maine only has 1.3 million people, but we have 40 plus million visitors a year, 30 plus million in 3 months. And she's afraid that if she doesn't quarantine the entire state, that these folks are going to bring
Yeah, the
the
problem
virus.
is, though, those 3 months are your Christmas, right?
Yeah, you got it. It's our
Tiffany
season.
likes December. You like these 3 months. So she's going to get rid of all of your wealth, and
Exactly.
you're never going to recover that.
That is correct. And so what I've advised her to do,
Not good.
what I've tried her to do is everybody, you can only get into Maine 2 ways, well, 3 ways. The Canadian border, the 95, or Route 2.
Right.
So if you put somebody at Route 2, everybody's got a foreign plate, an out-of-state plate. You
check
get their name, telephone number, where they're going to be. Problem solved. If you
It's
have
not
an
a big
uptick,
problem.
you go right there.
So you're giving away your tourist season this year because it's
That's correct.
starting, right? So
That
you're
is
giving
correct.
away your tourist system.
Yes.
I mean, she must know this, right?
I would think she's a
No,
right
how
lady.
does she do a thing like this? She's going to destroy your state. All right, look, I'm not a fan. We're going to solve your fishing problem. We're going to solve something that nobody thought was solvable. We'll solve it very easily. And Peter, you're going to handle that
Get
other
on it.
situation.
Right on.
It's an incredible. Would you like to say something, folks? Go ahead.
Yes, I would. Thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor to.
Thank you. It's my honor.
It's an honor to be here to discuss with you the importance of commercial fishing to our country. I am the Executive Director of Associated Fisheries of Maine, and I have more than 30 years' experience in regional, national, and international fisheries management. And in all of that time, I have never known a president to express a concern about the well-being of our fishing and seafood industries. So thank you very much for your interest, for your executive order promoting American seafood, for this announcement that you've made today, which will allow our fishermen to go back to work. The Antiquities Act
And we're
process.
doing that immediately. Are we doing that as of immediately?
You're opening up 5,000 square miles
As of-
with the stroke of a pen.
As of when?
The minute you sign it,
I better get
you will
going
begin
with the sign.
planning, and
I
you're
get my
taking
fishing
down
pole.
you're taking down a no fishing sign
Yeah.
and opening up.
I love that.
The process by which this monument was established is a non-transparent process that does not allow for stakeholder input, does not does not produce any kind of economic analysis of the negative impacts, and prevents all of us from enjoying the benefits of our healthy marine resources. So again, we appreciate that you've recognized that and are taking action to correct that.
And your senators, where were your senators for all these years? What happened?
They abdicated their responsibility. They went home early this year because it's election year and gave all their power to our governor.
So in addition to the opposition from the fishing industry, the Secretary of Commerce has also heard about opposition from the all 8 regional fishery management councils to establishing these monuments outside of the regular management process. So there has been a great deal of opposition to that, and now you're correcting
What would you
it.
do about that?
Well,
The monuments, what would you do?
The management of fisheries within our exclusive economic zone is rightfully managed under the Magnuson-Stevens Fisheries Conservation and Management Act. So we have a process to do that. We don't need the Antiquities Act to be establishing monuments that restrict fishing.
So what do you need?
You're bringing that process back.
Well, this
bringing that
order
back.
will take care of our
So
immediate
you're going to
need.
be okay,
You're
and
gonna
this is going to do
you're
most
gonna
of it?
take that back.
That's a big thing, right?
Yes.
You're so lucky I'm president. You are so lucky. I don't even know you, and you're so lucky.
Well, we're also looking to a pending action by the New England Fishery Management Council and the National Marine Fisheries Service, which will likely be voted on sometime in the fall, which would establish a requirement for our fishing boats to carry 100% of observers or at-sea monitors on all of our trips at our own expense. And this could be as much as $40,000 a year for some of our vessels. This is simply an expense that we cannot afford at this time, especially on the heels of what we will be trying to recover from this pandemic, which has had a huge impact on the commercial fishing industry in New England. We certainly cannot afford an additional expense that is totally discretionary. The law does not.
What's happening with that, David?
That's in process.
Huh?
That's in
Get it
process.
done.
It's
That's
We'll
part
get
of
it done.
your,
You're not going to have to...
Again, I just put it on
Sir,
your
that-
radar, Mr. President, so
So
that
let
we
me
can
ask you a
deal with it in
question.
the future.
So European Union charges you a 20% tariff, and is China charging a 40% tariff, or is that not? What's China charging? 40.
I'm not familiar with that.
Or not? You know, Paul?
What? China right now is charging a tariff on Maine lobster going to China. And
How much?
Our sales to China have gone from like 600,000 pounds to less than 100,000 pounds.
So you went from 600,000 pounds, that's the way you go, to 100,000 pounds. So you're way down.
And the only
Is
way
that because of the tariff?
Yes.
Okay.
What they do.
So, Peter,
what-
corresponding tariff to China for pick a product, a corresponding plus if they don't drop the tariff on Maine lobster going into China. Okay?
Yes, sir.
It's very simple, and I don't mind.
Yeah, the distribution companies have had to set up companies in Canada. They ship their.
No, I know, that's what they do. They go through different companies. It's called transshipping,
Yeah.
to be exact. They transship. Okay, ready?
Yes, sir.
China, EU. All you do is say, that's okay, keep charging us, and we're going to charge you a corresponding on something that they sell that's very precious to them. Put a corresponding, it should be for the same amount plus.
Yes, sir.
We'll take care of it. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. President, we operate a few boats here in Maine, but we also operate some scallop boats and some factory processors out in Alaska. And there is a tariff on the flatfish that's shipped into China that stays there. So if we want to ship it to them and develop a market in China, they do enforce a 25% tariff on it. What we have available to us is if they do process some of the fish, it's shipped back in the United States, and there is no tariff on that coming in at this present time.
So what you're saying is we don't charge them a tariff, but they charge us a tariff.
That's exactly right.
How stupid is that?
We're working on
How
it.
stupid is that, free traders? I tell you, the free traders out there that are always talking about this, oh, we're free traders. How stupid is that? So they charge us, and then we don't charge them.
Yeah, you'll be
And
pleased
they
to
get paid for doing the work on top of everything.
you'll be pleased to know that we just had
We'll take
a
it.
Zoom meeting with Senator Sullivan last night. He's working on it. He's going to be in touch with a few people. He wanted to say hello to you.
Sullivan's a good man.
Yeah, yeah.
Sullivan's a good man. He'll try, but
Yeah.
nobody can do this like I can.
It's like everybody, though. We're all trying to do it.
It's simple.
Yeah.
It'll be done.
Thank you.
It's very simple. He's a good guy, Dan Sullivan. Paul, you've said enough. David, you have anything to say real fast?
Well, I would like to thank you for taking the time to come listen to the fishing community. Since the moment you took office, you've been clear and consistent in your efforts to bring common sense back to the executive branch. You've done more than any president in our lifetime to bring common sense to government. And when you think about it, 5,000 square miles is an area that's larger than the state of Connecticut, the state of Delaware, or Rhode Island. And the prior administration essentially put a no fishing sign up to these individuals with the stroke of a pen. And you're addressing it. And your effort to ensure the voices of the people are heard is deeply appreciated across the country. The folks here, they go out, they brave the nation's waters, they bring an incredible natural resource benefit to the world, and they have the challenging task of facing whatever Mother Nature puts in front of them. They should not be in a situation where they're also having to fight their own government. And they needed common sense bureaucracy, and you're bringing it. And in doing so, we are not changing the boundaries of the monument, and we will remain protecting those objects that need and are appropriately protected by doing this. So thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. And these two people will get it done. By luck, I happen to have the two right people with me. All right? Please.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. My name is Christian Porter. I'm a commercial fisherman. I've been fishing for over 30 years. I fished for about everything over those years.
And you love doing that. You wouldn't switch for anything, even though they don't let you fish anymore.
No, well, I fish for different things. I fish for scallops now, and I fish for the lobster.
But you love it, right?
I love it. It's a way of life, Mr. President.
No, they love it. People love it. You wouldn't switch to be president, right?
Right.
You're making a good decision.
And I'm president of the Maine Lobstermen's Association, and we support the Maine Lobster Fleet supports 10,000 jobs on the water and another 5,500 shoreside jobs. So that's why I'm passionate about working with regulations.
Do people come in? It must be other countries. They must send their ships into this 5,000 big mile stretch. Right?
No, they can't. They can't come in through the
really?
easy.
So we get them out through what? The Coast Guard, the Navy.
Coast Guard.
We get them out.
Yep.
So we police it at least, right?
Yeah.
Good.
Right.
So go ahead.
So keeping our nation's fishery strong is a passion of mine. That's why it's great to have this opportunity to talk to you about the process of the Northeast Canyons of Seamount. Rather than work with the constituents who actually fish there and were most knowledgeable about the issue, like this guy right here, this monument was formed in back rooms with special interests. This created
during the other administration, you mean? Which administration? Obama?
The Obama administration did this.
Well, he's done Maine a tremendous disservice, I can tell you. Just from a common sense standpoint, how could you let a thing like this happen?
This created poor policy. It hurt the fishermen. And we really worry about the precedent it sets, that you can close large areas of ocean and put all the rest of us who fish for different things in smaller and smaller boxes. So, and that hurts everybody.
So by opening up this 5,000 miles, this is a treasure chest.
It spreads boats out, yes. And
did you ever think this was going to happen in your lifetime?
I did not. But the biggest thing is now people think when they're going to close this, they've got to go through the process. Fishermen need to have the input into this.
Right.
And we didn't. And so, it's not the only thing. There's other things. I just want to, as a lobsterman, bring up something that I would be run out of town if I didn't bring up to you. It's kind of the same situation. Our fishery is in great shape through years and years of good management. But despite our tremendous success, we find our industry being risk of being shut down because of the endangered right whale.
The endangered white whale.
Right whale. It's a and we've been in
And why is that? In other words, because you have to be so careful. What is it?
The entanglements and what
Is that in the same area that we're talking about?
No, it's a different area. It's along the coast of Maine. So our association, our executive director has had great conversations with your staff. One of them's here today. Alex Willett is here. He's up to speed on this. You had
go really quick because we have to leave.
Yeah,
we had. Wait.
No, but
how is
and
this?
your friend right here sent you a letter, and he can bring you up to speed on this. Governor, you sent a letter.
How is the whale? Paul, you know this.
Yes.
How is the whale hurting what they're doing?
The right whale is not hurting them. In fact, in the last 2 decades, there's not been an entanglement or a death in Maine waters. Now, they found some dead whales in Maine waters, but they came down from where the problem area is, and as we've talked about earlier, the St. Lawrence Seaway. At the mouth of the St. Lawrence Seaway is where all the deaths and entanglements are.
So how do we solve this problem?
We solve this problem by going to NOAA and telling them to get reasonable about their regulations.
Going to where?
NOAA. They are the problem, and I've worked 2 years. I've worked
So
6 years.
you know what reasonable means, then, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so get them done.
That is correct.
Get them done. All right, you'll work that, David.
I'll talk to them.
Okay.
We just want our voices heard in the process.
We'll be able to. I assume there's a good solution to that, right?
Yes, there is.
Okay, work on it. And we want to protect
there's
the
a-
whale. I want to protect the whale too.
As we do
As
too.
long as we can protect the whale, I'm going to do it. All right, so I'm going to leave it to you.
We're in, and I will say, he said one thing that is so true about the fishermen in Maine. Maine has the only sustainable lobster fishery and certified in the world. These people will go bend over backwards to save the laying, those that are layers and the youth. I mean, they just bend over backwards. It's not robbing the bottom. And the one thing about a Maine
You've been treated
lobster-
very badly. You know that, right? You better remember your president.
The one thing about a Maine
you've been treated very badly. I know what they've done to you. They've regulated you out of business. And yet you treated the area like it was your home. I know that. Go ahead.
The one thing that Washington has never understood, the Maine lobsterman is a family-owned business. It's hand-me-down from father to son for generations. If father kills all the lobster, son is going to starve. And that's what the lobster industry is in Maine. It's the only one in the world. And Washington bureaucrats are telling us we don't know how to fish.
We got it. All right? You'll
you,
work
sir.
with Paul on that.
Thank you, sir.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. John Williams, owner of the Atlantic Red Crab Company. Going to change species a little bit. I'm in the crab business, not the lobster business. I've been fishing in this area the 5,000 square miles personally since 1995, and there were people there before I was in there. And the interesting thing is going on Maggie Raymond's point is the lack of transparency in the process of setting these 5,000 miles apart. The industry was never given the opportunity to get involved. It was like
Well, not like now.
Exactly, no, and we appreciate it. And then on
Who knows more than the industry?
one talking point, and your 2.5.
So will you stop from fishing in the 5,000 miles then, basically?
in that 5,000
So
miles?
what? And that's prime area, right?
Well, this is the ironic part of the whole thing. They said that they had to shut that 5,000 miles down for an emergency presidential action, and I was very vocal about it, and they grandfathered me for 7 more years in that 5,000 mile area. So if there
So
was
when is the 7 years up?
we're about halfway through it.
Oh, you're lucky you just made it, huh?
We've had our fingers crossed since you got elected.
So is that very fertile in terms of crabs?
Yes, it's very fertile.
Because nobody's taking them, right?
It's we harvest from Virginia all the way to Canada.
So they gave you a grandfather of 7 years, and your 7 years is up.
Then
How
we're
many
out.
people were grandfathered?
It was my fishery and the offshore lobster fishery.
He must be a rich guy, right? Now, let me
I
ask
have a
you
good
this.
banker.
Do you have the problem with the European Union too?
I don't do very much export to Europe. Most of it's domestic.
You can't with the tariff. You can't.
Exactly.
So you don't bother.
And the other thing is I want to bring up that hasn't been brought up is we have a public process that's been in place for years and years and years to protect our resources and the ocean floor. And when you gasp at 5,000 miles at how big of an area that is, since '95, I think there's been, you'd have to correct me, but it's roughly 60,000 miles have been protected already, but they were protected in arenas like this that included scientists, fishermen, and environmentalists.
And is that wrong?
That's right.
So you like it?
I think when you get a group of scientists and
Okay, so there you think we did the right thing?
I think that,
Meaning people did the right thing.
I think that it's the public process as cumbersome as it can be, and sometimes I walked out of meetings not happy with the results, but it works.
But at least it went through a process.
And it allows
And this did not go through a process.
zero. We had zero
Right?
words.
This didn't go through a
And
process.
this
This
one-
was done for politics. I
Total
got it.
politics. Just one last comment on it is of course where the industry was left to remain completely silent and not go public, the millions of literature and propaganda and websites and everything that were out there saying we need to save this 5,000 miles because this bottom is pristine and we can't allow these fishermen in there because it's pristine. Well, we've been in there for 40 years. And so if the environmental groups can deem the place pristine, and we've been operating in that area for 40 years and they can't find any evidence where we've done any damage, I would say we've been pretty good stewards of that 5,000 miles.
It's great stuff down there, right?
Oh, it's great stuff.
Great stuff. Take care of it. All right? That's the one thing I'm asking you. Take care of it. Okay? Please, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to, my name's James Odlin. I've been involved in this fisheries for 50 years off New England, both as a captain and as a vessel fleet owner. And I served on the council for 9 years, helping make some of these regulations. I worked on the Habitat Committee issues where we worked for many years, and then we were ready to roll, and all of a sudden we get this order that said, your work doesn't matter, we're going to close 5,000 whole square miles. We were looking at discrete
So this is a really
special
big,
areas.
This is a really big deal for you people, isn't it?
We worked long and
This is
hard
the
on that
whole
issue.
deal.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I just got one other thing, Mr. President. I want to reiterate that the stocks of fish off New England, ground fish, are at historic highs
Is that because you were stopped from
because
fishing?
of proper fish management. The issue is we've got millions of pounds of fish out there that are not getting caught annually, which would equate into hundreds and hundreds of jobs.
So will I
We
be
need-
allowed to go fishing in that 5,000 mile piece?
you
Would you
could.
mind if I took a little boat and went fishing out there?
So we've got some regulations that are preventing us from harvesting these healthy, sustainable fish stocks. And we need help getting those
Is that
regulations.
not being taken care of in what we're doing?
Well, I just heard this now that they've asked the National Marine Fisheries Service and Commerce to look at some of those regulations.
Do you know about it?
Yeah, it's a commerce issue. I'm happy
Right.
to work
You
with
got
them
it.
on it.
Just take it over.
But I have some worries that they will just tweak around the edges and not really do.
All right. David will take it
I have
over.
some inside information that that's what's going to
Okay,
happen.
we got it.
If I may, sir, the executive order that you signed several weeks ago has very clear, direct instructions to take care of those regulations. So this president is already on this case. There is a process underway, and that gentleman across the way will ensure that the commercial fishermen of this state will be able to fish the waters here without undue regulation. Full
So we're
stop.
cutting regulations from highways and roadways to fish. And
That's
that's what Peter's talking about. Go ahead,
Yes,
Pete,
sir.
do you have anything to say?
This is the jobs president. This trip today goes and creates jobs from Brunswick and Bath to Bangor and Guilford, all the way up and down from Bar Harbor down to Kennebunkport. And this president is the working class president, and this state is a hard scrabble state. It's a working class state, and people in this state should not have to face a federal government that takes away your livelihood. These two executive orders combined are the greatest news for commercial fishermen in the last 50 years.
Yep.
And this first order will clear off the decks of undue regulation. The second order, as soon as he signs that and gives away the pens to all you folks here, will set free the fishermen of this state.
Well,
It's
they
a
took
great
your
day.
lives away. They took your livelihood away from you, so that's good. So thank you, Peter.
Yes, sir.
Well said. Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I just wanted to thank you for coming to the state of Maine to talk to our commercial fishing industry. As was pointed out already, it is a first, and we truly appreciate it. And we also appreciate the action you're taking today. I don't think there's a single industry person around this table that disagrees on the need for it and why it is so important. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Mary Beth Tooley. I am the Government Affairs Manager for the O'Hara Corporation out of Rockland, Maine. I brought the boss with me today. He's on the other side of the table, Frank O'Hara Jr., president of a family-held company, as I said, in Rockland, Maine. And I know that he spoke already. He provides an awesome history of a family-held company that started in 1907 in T Wharf in Boston, Massachusetts, has been present here in the state of Maine since 1944, and is definitely multi-generational. He has sons coming up and grandchildren being born, and the goal of the company is
Good.
to maintain
Well, now they
sustainable
have a place,
fish.
right?
So
Now
I
they
don't know,
have a
Frank,
place.
if you want to add anything to that before I go on?
What's that?
Do you want to add anything on that before I go on?
No, you got it. You know, we've been around for a while. We've gotten through wars, depressions. We've gotten through overfishing from the
But
foreign
this was the worst thing that you've been through, I'll bet, right? What happened to you when they took this away?
It didn't affect us as much as it would have affected John, but it will affect us because once they take one mountain or one canyon, they'll take another one and another one. They'll go over to the west coast.
Are you involved in that area, the 5,000 miles?
We used to be, but we're not. We do scalloping, which is more to the south of that. So our scallop boats, which is replicated by that model over there, we do some scallops, but mostly it's crab and lobsters out that way. We're flatfish.
Is that a new boat? Like
It is. It was
so
a new
that's
boat built
current-
down in
So
Duckworth.
they look pretty old, right? There's a lot of design talent there, huh?
Yeah. They got the new bulbous bow and a quart nozzle. It's lower carbon footprint. We're building another boat starting next year.
How much, brand new, how much does that boat cost?
Just under $4 million.
How much?
Just under $4 million.
It's the real deal, right?
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, good. Well, you're in good shape. Thank you very much.
So if I could, excuse me, I'm sorry, I just had
Go ahead, please.
But I just wanted to say very briefly, because I don't need to be repetitive, I am a former member of the New England Fishery Management Council and served for 9 years on that council. And so you have here around the table current members of the council, past members of the council. Most of our industry people have all served as advisory panel members to council's committees, and we hope one former council member as well. And, as the public process, I think people have outlined why we think it's so important, and we certainly do endorse that. And I will leave it at that. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Good job. Please.
Hi, I'm Terry Alexander. I own Jordan Lynn Incorporated. It's a commercial fishing company. And I based all my comments on trying to convince you to sign that executive order, so they're pretty moot right now. But I would just like to point out some of the highlights on it, and then maybe touch on some ideas.
We'll go quick.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President, for supporting our nation's fisheries and fishing communities. These monuments, even though they're south of New England, they push people, they displace people, and they're affecting the entire fleet all the way to shore. So it's a good thing to open up area.
So that gets solved.
Right. Yeah. So
Excuse me, are there media from Maine here? Are you liking what we're doing? Huh? You can say, yes, you do. Anybody else from Maine? From the area? They all come up from Washington, unfortunately. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so that's already done. So I'm gonna touch on a couple ideas, how the Canadians, how it's not fair for the Canadians, the way we compete against the Canadians offshore.
Tell me about that.
All right, so we try to catch haddock, different size, same fish. We negotiate with the Canadians every year.
And how do you find negotiating with them?
They're pretty good. I'm on the TMGC. I'm on the New England Fisheries Management Council. I'm in my 8th year there. They've been good, and we negotiate every year, and they catch their entire quota almost every year. We catch 10% of our quota every year.
What's the difference in the size of the quota?
Well, we're about even on haddock, but it's because of our regulations over here. Our mesh size is the wrong size for catching haddock over here. That needs to be fixed, and we can get that stuff done through the council. But
Go ahead.
we need that stuff done through the
You'll
council.
sell that on eBay tonight.
I won't sell it.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
But we can fix that through the council. We just need the incentive of DC pushing that stuff,
Well,
that
we'll
kind
get
of
that
stuff
done.
done.
And you're working on that.
Yeah. So
We'll get that done.
yeah.
It's an honor to be doing what we're doing. I mean, you people, basically, they took away your livelihood. It's ridiculous. Took away your life. Wait a minute, 1 second. I'm going to sign this for you. Here. Whoever wants this, here. We'll take them. So come on around real quick, and we're going to sign this up.
Everybody get
And take one of these. You can hand that out. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Maybe give a little room, I guess. Congratulations. Come on, David. Come on, Peter. So we're giving Maine back a big part of its history, a big part of its industry, and we're giving you back your fishing rights to 5,000 miles of square miles. That's a lot. Boy, that's a big chunk. That's a big chunk of water, isn't it? So do very well. Say hello to the people of Maine. They're great people. They were very nice to me. I'll tell you that. And I appreciate it very much, but I know you appreciate it much more than I do, because you're getting a lot more than I am, okay? So good luck, everybody.
Thank you.
And they're going to work on those other things with Peter and David. Okay? Okay, pass them out, fellas. Okay, pass them out. Okay, got them? You got them? We'll take that. You got that. Thank you.
Great job.
Good luck, everybody. Thank you. Go get them.
All right, folks, thank you so much for joining us and choosing us as your stream of choice here at Golden State Times. This was President Trump at a roundtable with commercial fishermen in Maine. Now, President Trump is set to deliver a speech in just a few moments. We're going to shut this live stream down. We're going to start that live stream. So make sure you guys join us. If you're new to the channel, we encourage you to subscribe and click that notification bell. But if you are already subscribed and you want to get notified, make sure you're signed up to our notification list through text message. If you haven't signed up yet, all you have to do is send the word Trump Live to the number 555-888, and you'll get signed up to our text message notification list. If you signed up before, you don't have to do it again. But President Trump is said to deliver a speech very, very soon. So we're going to shut this live stream down and we'll start the next one. So make sure you are part of our notification list. In order to get on it, text the word Trump Live to the number 555-888. All right, folks, I'll see you guys in 5 minutes.